one of the things that when we see that the patient is already engaged or he's had results, we have a specific template that has all the documentaries or a collection of books that we like. And we always recommend to start off with your book because it's simple, practical, and it's the most insightful book that I know out there on testosterone and just overall.
Until his comes.
And again, your book has been an inspiration, really. I don't usually get starstruck, but I am today.
Thank you.
And the terms, I talked about this, T-shaming.
Right.
We're doing all this so we can educate and empower our patients.
Right.
So that when they try to get shamed by their primary care physician or by their friends, a lot of guys come to me, they tell me, I went to my primary doc and I told him, check my testosterone. It's like, you only want to get muscles. We don't juice people here.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, this is such a disconnect for what testosterone does.
Right.
So the T-shaming is real. I'm going to tell you, I T-shame myself.
Yeah.
So at 48 years old, when I hit that wall of low T, I've been prescribing T for patients for about 8 years. When I hit the wall, I was like, I don't need that. Not
exactly.
me. I'm super.
I'm Rudy.
I'm Rudy. I don't need that. It took me almost a year to be like, man, I'm kind of struggling. I was working 100 hours a week. I have twins. Life was crazy. I was able to keep up there, but then I was like, I'm falling apart.
Right.
It still took me a year to get on testosterone because of my old school thinking.
Exactly.
Although I was telling patients the other way. So when you have a mindset, it's really difficult to change it. So once I changed myself, I realized, I was like, wow, this is what my patients were saying. So I communicated with my patients even more like this. So sometimes my patient would be like, yeah, I feel like the light bulb went on. I'm like, yeah, me too. When I get my injection, I feel that. So we really communicate on that level. So empowering the patient in this day and age is the most important thing. And you started it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm just, again, stepping on the
channel.
shoulders of other giants who wrote before me, and I did all the research. But, I think that's important. Physicians who are actually embodiment of what they prescribe are the best to actually get this information. And I'm not saying that there are not doctors out there that can't prescribe testosterone who are not on it. But again, as we all know, personal use and understanding of what happens to you biologically, systemically, endocrinologically, all of these things allow a physician, and again, I think of female physicians, Dr. Amy, there's many of them out there. I mean, all of the ones that are the best at what they do are working with this hormonal symphony themselves.
Yeah.
And they're creating a realistic outcome, and then they create the expectations for their patients. Because you just don't find a lot of doctors out there. And I think of, and again, I'm not quantifying, but like thinking of the urologists and the endocrinologists, the guys that are the science-based understanding of the hormonal symphony.
Academics.
But they're not,
Crazy.
exactly, they're mechanics, but they're not prescribing.
Right.
They talk about it and they diagnose, dysfunction, like hormonal dysfunction or testosterone, pituitary, not pituitary, but testicle dysfunction. And so they're, in that way they prescribe, but they're not like stewards of like the things that we talk about, which is optimization.
Right.
So I think a lot of people have to understand that, it's not about like finding a urologist or finding an endocrinologist. It's about finding a physician who's been doing this a long time and again, has a big body of practice that understands what they're doing.
Yeah, and he, Doc, he's great at this. He can relate to the patient because he knows what the patient is going to go through, the ups and downs and, the struggles. And, we even have a lot of patients that it's kind of that old wiring. They get in front of Doc and it's kind of like they're acting upon their old wiring like, I'm not sick, and so they're kind of defensive about, they're defensive.
It still works.
No, I feel fine.
I'm good.
I feel fine, and they don't understand that Doc is looking at their labs, and I think that this is also an important point where the talent of the practitioner comes is to be able to interpret the lab markers versus what the patient is actually feeling. Because if you just focus on the labs, then you're treating a piece of paper. Right, not the patient.
Exactly right.
And so this is where Doc is great, that, and his talent to be able to interpret that and put on optimization glasses.
Sure.
You're fine, you're not dying of cancer, you're gonna live, but not dying is not exactly living your best.
Right.
So what we're doing is basically functional endocrinology.
Right.
And endocrinology is a really, I didn't want to go into endocrinology because it's a difficult branch of medicine.
Right.
Because the hormones, I always say that, our hormones are our weakest link. We are only as strong as our hormones, especially as we get older.
Sure.
Our hormones determine our behavior, our relationship to our environment, our
Emotions.
personality, everything. For example, hormones. Think about serotonin.
Right.
If your serotonin is low, you're not the same person. You're depressed, you have no ambition. If your dopamine is low, you don't enjoy life. Testosterone is the same with all this.
Right.
So the hormones play such an important role on who we are, our personality, not just our physical health. I think everybody knows about the physical health part. It is more the emotional, behavioral makeup that the hormones make who we are. So you cannot quantify that with a number.
Right.
And this is where we say endocrinology should not be a number or laboratory-based specialty.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it didn't used to be. Before they had blood tests for thyroid, you know how they used to treat hypothyroidism? If you have the symptoms, they do a therapeutic trial.
Right.
They give you the medication, no blood test. If you get better after 6 weeks, I have a diagnosis.
Got it.
If you don't get better, let's broaden our differential diagnosis and do it. Do you know how they first started treating hypogonadism? This guy injected himself with testicular cells from bovine testicular cells. And then he felt better. They didn't have. So endocrinology cannot be a science of numbers.
Right.
So that's what I was saying. I'll have patients come to us all the time. They're like, Doc, I just went to my doctor. I passed with flying colors.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how are you feeling? I feel like crap. I'm like, all right, let's try to dig deeper.
Right, because they're looking at the standard mean deviation and they see them falling into the middle and they're like, oh, you're fine.
You're fine.
No, and
Welcome
one thing
to
that
being 50.
one thing that I noticed
No,
is
that's their 50, not this 50, baby. This 50 is a different
No, but he's
50.
right. That's literally what they say. Welcome
how
to
it
it's
should be,
part
though.
of aging, and
This
this
is how it
is
should be.
just the way it is, and you have to be subject to this. And that's the mindset they create in that person.
I want to bring us back to how we started. 50 is the new 30.
Right.
Thriving at 50.
Right.
If you look at Jay and I, again, we don't know how we got to 50. But we're in a good place right now. And why? It didn't start yesterday. We've been applying those things that we tell our patients that are evidence-based, including the nutrition, the diet, the exercise, the mindset. People forget about mindset and the hormonal balance.
Exactly.
If you do this, and I'm looking at you guys that are younger than us, by the time if you guys continue on that path, I'm excited to see
Yeah,
what
it's
you're going to be
amazing.
at.
I
50.
love this business because I see people in their 50s, 60s, 70s. I'm like, wow, they started maybe at 40, 50. I started basically at 30. This is amazing.
Right.
I have an opportunity to look phenomenal.
What was
to
the
feel
usual
phenomenal.
50-year-old before? He was
One
old
foot in
and
the grave,
grumpy.
1 foot in the grave.
Old and grumpy, waiting to do a midlife crisis.
Yeah.
And then after that, waiting to go to a nursing home.
Right.
This is
That's
how you
exactly
start
right.
going. I'm on the way up, baby.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, I think we can bring it back around to something that Carlos has always kind of preached to clients is if you look at the Roman figures of 2,000 years ago, they were built. They weren't doing bodybuilding. There wasn't a weight room. But look at their sculptures. Look at their bodies.
So to that point, it is important to say, and you know this, Doc, muscle is the greatest deterrent to the diseases of aging.
Sarcopenia.
So this is not like
To
us
insulin
talking
resistance.
bro, like building muscle, like you said, narcissism, bodybuilding, any of that stuff. This is literally about health and slowing down the process of aging as best as we can. And the more muscle a person has on their body, and again, I'm not talking about bodybuilders,
Right.
super physiologic,
Let's
cartoon
make sure we get
characters
that straight.
that compete. We're talking about people like you and I, all of us, who are aging gracefully, maintaining our functional strength. I always say this to people, like, you should have a goal of being 65 and older and being able to bend over and pick up your grandchildren. You should be able to hike a big 10,000 foot mountain. You should be able to not have any limitations on your life. And that's what hormonal optimization gives you.
Yeah, so I think to wrap it up, and once again, we're super blessed to have these two brains with us, and just to kind of tell people that are watching that optimization is not just one thing. Testosterone is a tool in the tool belt. Optimization is a whole being experience. It's about learning and becoming a better father, a better neighbor, a better brother, right? This is about maximizing the quality of life, right? That we all seek so deeply for. And so I just want to, once again, thank you guys for having this discussion. And, for those of you watching at home or wherever you are, if you have any questions about what you heard today, feel free to call us and we'll guide you in the right direction so you can find the avenue, whether it's a practitioner or another practice that can take you where you deserve to be and thrive at 50 like these awesome guys do. And then even us in our 30s and 40s, that we're trying to do it bigger, badder, and better than them. So if you have any questions, you just give us a call, and thank you so much for watching. For now, stay healthy and God bless.